Hello, my name is CJ, and welcome to the end of 2020. What a year 2020 was, wasn't it? You know, in 2020 we got physical publications of Chainsaw Man, and nothing else happened. Anyway, let's get to the manga. Wow, CJ, it's been 3 months and this is all the manga you've picked up? Well, yeah, but as I've said many, many times before, it's not the quantity, it's the quality of manga that really, really makes a difference. And you know what? It's been a fun 3 months, so let's talk about all the excellent manga that I've collected these past 3 months, starting first with Cardcaptor Sakura. Sakura, my girl, you look amazing in this outfit. Can we just take a moment to pause and look at this outfit? I mean, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. I don't know what it is, but I love seeing Sakura in these sort of like masculine outfits. I was actually watching a YouTube video about two people that said that their fashion was inspired by fashion that they had seen as kids in Cardcaptor Sakura. And although I'm not a fashionista myself, I can totally get where they're coming from. Because in particular, there's this one outfit that Sakura wears during a school production of Sleeping Beauty that it just makes her look so cool. Sakura's got some great fashion. Clamp is really, really good about that. That being said, though, let's talk about the actual contents of the volume itself, and Clamp Syndrome is hitting poor Clear Card Arc so hard. I wish I didn't have this to report, but it's just so sad. Really, Clear Card Arc should have ended around this volume. Honestly, I was really, really expecting Clear Card Arc to kind of go the way of the original series. So the original series is kind of split in half. The first half is Sakura seeking out the cards. The second half is her turning them into her own cards. So they're both equal in their duration. And so I was hoping that Clear Card Arc would kind of be a third part of Cardcaptor Sakura, and it would be just about as long as one of those two first parts, or maybe just as long as the both of them combined, which it seems like that's what they're going for Clear Card Arc, is that it's going to be as long as the both of them combined. But I'm going to be real with you, it's not great. They're really dragging out the mysteries in an unnecessary way. Like, the answers that we are getting from the mysteries are good answers, and I'm really satisfied with what we got so far, but you can't really drag it out for that much longer, can you? It's kind of boring. So that being said, Cardcaptor Sakura, of course get it if you're a Cardcaptors fan. I mean, if you love Sakura as much as I do, I mean, it's obviously worth it. But for the casual fan, not so sure. Which, by the way, I was paying about $2 a month to Comixology to read the new chapters as they were coming out per month. I've stopped doing that. I'm just going to wait for the volumes to come out because it's ridiculous. Like, the fact that I can pay Viz Media $2 a month to read almost their entire library of manga, and I have to pay $2 a month for a single chapter of Cardcaptor Sakura, yeah, that's just ridiculous. Anyway, moving on forward to, what's this? Could it be? Is it the manga we were promised? Is it Chainsaw Man? That's right, homies. It's Chainsaw Man. And this is my number one recommendation for this pickup. I love Chainsaw Man. I've gotten so many of my friends into Chainsaw Man, and all of them adore it. It's glorious. So Chainsaw Man, Too Long Didn't Read, is basically about this guy who is best friends with this little dog demon thing, and the two of them get into a really bad situation, and the dog demon is like, okay, I don't want you to die, so I'm going to combine with you, and we are going to become Chainsaw Man. And it is wild. This was published in the same magazine as Naruto, One Piece, My Hero Academia, etc., but it's very adult. Like, I would never, ever think about putting this in my classroom. I mean, just to give you an idea of how adult it is, just look at the back cover of the second volume. I mean, yeah, you know, that's just going to give you a really good idea of how adult it is. And I love Chainsaw Man to pieces, though. It just ended its first part in Shonen Jump, and I believe it's moving online for its second part. I'm super excited to see where the series goes, but its initial first part's ending was just glorious. I mean, Chainsaw Man, through and through, excellent series. Very adult, though. Be careful both in its violence and its sexual content. Next we have Keep Your Hands Off Isekai. Isekai is Film Club, so this is a very interesting pickup, and it's not one that I'm going to recommend for everybody. It's, how do I put this the right way? So this was originally written as a manga, It's about three girls who want to basically create their own anime and a film club at school, and there's a lot of shenanigans that get involved. Like, there already is an anime club at the school, so they have to disguise their club as the quote film club in order to not get their club dismantled, etc. And it's very cute, it's very wonderful. This manga in particular does a really neat sort of thing with its word balloons. So instead of just presenting the word balloons as is, I wish I could show you this, but I would get possibly copyright strike. They instead tilt the word balloons in order to kind of make them look like they're popping out of the page. It's a very strange technique, but it looks very cool. My only issue with this is that the anime is so much better. Usually, I, CJ, am a huge defendant of manga. I think manga is beautiful. I think manga is great. Manga is my favorite medium ever. It's why I love it so much. But there are certain things that other mediums do better than manga, and there's certain things that manga do better than other mediums. So, I mean, it's about girls wanting to make an anime. So when they're talking about, like, the different things they want to do in their anime, it's not as effective as just showing it in an anime, if that makes sense. So I think the anime of Keep Your Hands Off Aizakin is a better product. But if you're interested, if you enjoyed the anime and you want to see where this beautiful series came from, I recommend it. Otherwise, just go watch the anime. Next we have Mermaid Saga. Ooh. This cover's very nice, by the way. It's got this very nice texture. It's beautiful. There's like a little bump where the author's name is. Mermaid Saga is interesting. So I've kind of been on this kick where Yashahime came out, which is the anime sequel to Inuyasha, and my sisters and I have been really enjoying it. And so I was like, man, I want to read some more Rumiko Takahashi manga. I've only really read Rama Half and Inuyasha, so I went back and I went into a bunch of manga to like read her history, and Mermaid Saga, I'm gonna be real with you guys, it's the best one for me. Like, so Inuyasha and Rama Half are really good. I think Rama Half is better than Inuyasha. This I would put like in third place as, gosh, Mermaid Saga is so good. Oh, it's amazing. So basically, if you're a fan of Inuyasha, Mermaid Saga is Inuyasha without the comedy. It's all horror, it's all like mystique and intrigue and mystery, and it is very fun. I will tell you, it's a little on the horror side. It's not super scary. It's nothing like you're going to see in like a Junji Ito manga. But it is a little scary, so I'd recommend it for like teenagers and above. Still, I am super excited to get the second omnibus of Mermaid Saga. This was like diving into a manga that I'd like forgotten about. It felt like I'd read this manga before because it is very Rumiko Takahashi in its presentation. And I love it. I'm so excited for the second omnibus to be able to finish this story. Which, speaking of which, I don't know why it only lasted for about like 3 or 4 volumes originally. I'm kind of curious as to what happened, because I thought it was written very well. Maybe it just wasn't that popular. Next we have Mob Psycho 100 Volume 6. This has my favorite chapter in the entire series, which was adapted in the first episode of Season 2. There's this gorgeous scene where a bunch of papers fly in the air and the main character, Mob, reaches out to grab them, and his hand actually extends beyond the panels. This really, really cool direction of art. And the anime does a pretty good job at adapting that particular scene, but I love Mob Psycho 100. As I've said before, the art is not great. It's not. But please give it a chance, because the writing is gorgeous, and sometimes you really do get those panels, like the panel I just talked about, that really take your breath away. Mob Psycho 100 is definitely worth your time. Hey, speaking of which, Mob Psycho 100 Regan. Dark Horse. Dark Horse, what are you doing? Seriously, what are you doing with this? I'm so confused. Dark Horse, once again, being one of the most confusing manga publishers out there. So Mob Psycho 100 Regan takes place after Mob Psycho 100. Yes, we don't even have the full series of Mob Psycho 100 published, and yet this particular volume has been published. I don't know why. This volume would be very confusing for somebody to read after, say, Volume 6, because it features characters that don't appear until well after Volume 6, and Mob himself is not really present all that much in this volume. It's very confusing. I'm somebody who has finished Mob Psycho 100. I know the ending. I am very much in love with the series, so I got this volume because I was like, well, of course, because I'm going to love this too. I love Regan. He's a great character. But why? I really don't get why publishers do things like this sometimes. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Coming on down here to just the second row. Hey, speaking of one, the author of One Punch Man and Mob Psycho 100, we got One Punch Man, volume 21, and be very, very careful of that Viz curse. Make sure your spines are aligned when you're getting these volumes of One Punch Man, otherwise the cool art on the side of the volumes won't line up. Like, they've been doing this thing with some recent volumes where, like, they have art that are that's basically being displayed across volumes, and that effect will not work if you fall victim to the Viz curse. Do not fall victim. I think... Yep. This is what I'm talking about with the Viz curse, where the back of the volume, like, sinks into the spine or the front or whatever. I found a... Fortunately, I have a little bit of the Viz curse, but this volume makes me so sad. Oh well. I'll never stop talking about it. CJ will never let it die. Anyway, One Punch Man. Very, very, very good series. I mean, there's not really much more I can say about One Punch Man at this point. What I will say is that Viz Media seems to have been cognizantly aware of fan outcry that the latest chapters were not being published on the Shonen Jump app, which they seem to have picked up the pace quite a bit with the chapters. I don't think we're current yet with scans, which, again, CJ's note, I don't recommend reading scans, but if scanlators are doing a better job than the official source, there's probably a problem there. So I'm glad that Viz Media is finally taking steps to make sure that we're current with Japan. Thank you guys for that. Really appreciate it, so I don't get, and me and other fans don't get spoiled by scanlators. That would be 10 out of 10. That would be great. So excellent. I love it. The only issue I really have with this volume and chapters that have come out after this volume is, where is the series going to go from here? It's kind of confusing. I'm not really sure. Next we have My Hero Academia, volume 25. And you can always tell when a cover is slightly open like this, that this volume has been read before, and it certainly has. Some of my students have already gotten their hands on this volume. This volume covers Shigaraki's background, which is just okay compared to Twice and Toga's background, where, like, Twice and Toga, their stories are tragic, and there's a lot of, like, tell, don't show, but in Shigaraki's case, there's a lot of show and tell, which you would think, show, don't tell, but you would think, like, oh, CJ, you would want manga to show things rather than just explain things to you, right? Well, in, like, this case, it's like Shigaraki's story seems to be just edgy for the sake of edge, where, like, I'm just going to use Twice's backstory. I'm not going to get into it for people who haven't seen this content yet. Twice's story, like, you don't really see a lot what happens to him, but you can see, like, how much it pains him through his actions in the present and his facial expressions and stuff. With Shigaraki's backstory, it's more like, isn't this a bad thing that happened? Don't you feel bad? You know, and we don't really experience that through Shigaraki. We just experience a lot of him, like, you know, screaming and being angry and mopey. You know, where Twice we literally live that experience through him. Shigaraki is just, he seems like, and actually, to be fair, this might be intentional, he seems more of like a vehicle for All for One rather than his own character in and of himself. So, but maybe that's intentional. Just saying. I don't know. Next, we have Noragami Volume 22. Finally, there's been such this huge hiatus of volumes for Noragami, and this, I think, is like one of the first volumes in like 1 or 2 years. It's super exciting to finally have another volume in Noragami. I love this series. As I've mentioned many times in this channel, if you were a fan of Inuyasha when you were a kid like me, Noragami feels like a more realized version of Inuyasha. Not so much because it doesn't take place in feudal Japan, it takes place in the modern day, but in its characters and its storytelling, it's very similar to Inuyasha in that regard. Always a high recommendation for Noragami. Kazuma, best boy. Next we have One Piece Volume 95, and not really much to say about One Piece. Wano's great. I mean, I've talked many, many times about One Piece. In fact, oh my gosh, yeah, we're about to hit Chapter 1000. As of the recording of this video, Chapter 1000 hasn't come out yet, but oh my gosh, okay. I just gotta say, I've seen so many people online publicly talking about how amazing Chapter 1000 is. Guys, please do not support scans. I cannot tell you enough. Like, please support the official content. Like, the reason the chapter hasn't come out yet in Japan or anywhere else in the world is because the people running the magazines are on holiday. Like, they literally cannot publish this chapter without sacrificing time to be with their families. Like, please, like, support the official content, please. I can't tell you enough. That being said, I love this cover. I love how One Piece isn't afraid to be excellent pink. You know, just to be gloriously pink. I love it. Most shonen series shy away from being colorful. Chainsaw Man, One Piece, and even My Hero Academia are really starting to be colorful and fun, and I just enjoy that. I mean, think about it. Like, these are the four, like, big bads of this series. Like, you know, big, macho, like, incredible forces of power. And Oda's like, yeah, we're gonna make them rainbow. Heck yeah. And you know what? I'm here for it. Thank you, Oda. Next we have Sadako at the End of the World. This one's probably the most interesting pickup of the month because, wow. Just wow. I believe, and I could be wrong, that this was made as part of a promotion for a new Ring movie in Japan, and it is interesting. So if you're not familiar with the original Ring movie, or Ringu as it's called in Japan, there's this girl called Sadako, and basically she died this horrific death, and so her ghost goes on to, like, possess this film. So, like, this film is of the bottom of the well, and when you look up, there's, like, a ring, and that's what the ring is in reference to. And if you watch the film, she kills you in 7 days. So what you have to do, or at least this isn't the case in the American version, what you have to do is you have to make a copy of the tape and have somebody else watch it, and then the curse passes from you to another person, and so you are saved. So it's it's a very cruel way of getting rid of the problem, because it becomes, well, somebody else's problem. And so Sadako basically appears, and she's like, oh, these two girls have watched my tape. Okay, I'm going to kill them in 7 days. And the problem is that it's the end of the world, so these two girls are some of the only people left alive. And Sadako's like, oh, well, crap. Oopsie doopsie. And so she travels with them, and it's very wholesome in a very dark way. Sadako herself is a very, like, surprisingly wholesome character. She's not, like, this weird, like, creepy, like, awful person. She kind of just seems like a victim of her own circumstances. And the girls themselves are very cute, too. The ending is dark. I will warn you guys. I'm not going to spoil it, but there's not a happy ending to this. But still, I recommend it if you are a fan of The Ring. Obviously, I would recommend it if you're a fan of The Ring. I'd recommend it if you are looking for a wholesome story that doesn't necessarily have to have a happy ending. It's very interesting. Next, we have Spy X Family. This is becoming a really big hit with my students, and I wouldn't recommend it, of course, for students in elementary school. This is definitely like a junior high and above series, but other than that, it's got some really, really great themes in it. I mean, as the title implies, it's about a family that has a spy, an assassin, and a psychic kid, and it's very, very interesting. And they're a found family too, so they're not biologically related to each other. But the series is all about love. It's all about, like, what it means to be a family and stuff like that. Continuing on in this volume, the assassin's brother enters the picture, and he's got his own, like, twisted sort of deal going on, and it is very wholesome. It's very nice. So I would recommend this series to junior high and above, and really to anybody who's interested in reading shonen manga. You're going to see this series, like Chainsaw Man, blow up huge when it gets its own anime, which, speaking of which, Chainsaw Man got its own anime, yay! But Spy X Family is going to blow the heck up when it gets its own anime. Just you wait. But for now, go get these volumes. It's definitely worth your time. And then finally, we have Wave Listen to Me, Volume 4. This series originally came out on Kindle, and I got the first 3 volumes, and then after that, they started individually releasing the chapters instead of releasing them in one volume like they did for the physical release. And yeah, I was just like, eh. So I stopped reading in Volume 3, and now I finally have the chance to read the content in Volume 4, and I can just basically tell you that it's mostly the same as usual, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Something that I really appreciate about series like Wave Listen to Me is that they're seinen without being gory and violent or messed up psychologically. Like, there's a big, big inside joke in my friend group that Goodnight Poon Poon is, like, the worst thing that ever happened to me. And don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed Goodnight Poon Poon. I think it's an amazing series. I enjoyed its first omnibus, but I didn't go past that because I had a miserable time with it. The characters were so sad and it was so depressing. And, like, you know, people are totally okay to enjoy that stuff. People are totally okay to enjoy Goodnight Poon Poon or to read Berserk and really enjoy the violence in that series. But I'm glad that there's a seinen that doesn't necessarily have to focus on either of those two things. The main character, Minare, in particular, is so funny, and it's so relatable to read about a character who's just trying to make her way in the world, is trying to find stable ground, is trying to find something that can give her purpose. So I gotta say, I really want more content like Wave Listen to Me. You can do it, manga authors. I believe in you. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, please leave your pickups in the comments below. I'm gonna be real with you, I really haven't had a lot of time to read manga lately, so I'm especially interested in the comments this time around because oftentimes you guys inspire me to pick up certain series for the next video, and this time I'm especially looking for some inspiration. Although speaking of the next video, I've purchased a lot of used manga online in the last week or so from a bunch of sellers across the country, so those manga volumes are going to be slowly trickling in the next month, and I'm super excited to share those volumes with you guys. There's a lot of series that I've been looking at for a very long time, and it's going to be sweet. Until next time, this is CJ, signing off.